The silence of the library enveloped Jonathan as he roamed among the bookshelves, his trembling hand clutching an old, dusty tome. It was midnight, and the public library in the city was deserted. Jonathan, being a student, had to rely on a reading lamp for light. But now, he was alone in the dim glow, surrounded by ancient volumes. Jonathan picked up an old, forgotten book from the top corner of a shelf while conducting his research. As he skimmed through its pages, he stumbled upon a story he had never encountered before. The story spoke of a horrifying marsh located just outside the city. Intrigued, Jonathan began to read the tale with rapt attention. The story recounted the marsh as a place that was once a serene and peaceful town. However, with the arrival of a stranger in the town who ventured into the marsh, strange and eerie events began to unfold. It was said that within the marsh lay treacherous, poisonous plants and enigmatic creatures, and those who entered it never returned. Locals claimed that the marsh had claimed their souls. Jonathan continued to read, page after page, until he reached the end of the story. To his frustration, the last page of the book was blank. This only fueled his curiosity, and he made up his mind to visit the marsh and uncover its mysteries. Under the cover of midnight silence, Jonathan embarked on his journey towards the marsh. The moonlight illuminated the sinister surface of the marsh as he ventured deeper into its ominous expanse. The eerie hum of the wind whispered through the reeds as Jonathan cautiously approached the water's edge. Suddenly, a peculiar rustling sound emanated from the water. Bright-eyed creatures emerged from the marsh around him. Terrified, Jonathan attempted to retreat, but there was no escape. The marsh had him ensnared in its grasp, its enigmatic flora closing in on him. As his eyes closed, he realized the truth of the story he had read. The following morning, library staff were greeted by a chilling scream that shattered the silence, but Jonathan was never seen again. When news of his disappearance reached the townsfolk, they gathered to investigate the marsh once more. Yet, the marsh had become more perilous and enigmatic than ever before. Jonathan's vanishing became a tale that began in the quiet library and ended in the horrifying marsh, hauntingly remembered by all. The townspeople vowed never to set foot near the marsh again, and the story became a dark secret quietly tucked away. Years passed, but the tale was not forgotten. Jonathan's absence and the mysteries of the marsh remained subjects of conversation in the town. No one dared to approach the marsh, and no one could fully comprehend the story. And the silent library held the secrets, waiting to be unraveled from the pages of a lost book. Jonathan's story continued in this town where silence reigned. The town's unresolved secrets and the marsh's enigmas lay dormant, patiently waiting. Perhaps one day, all these secrets would come to light. Emily and David were a couple who had been together for a long time. One Saturday evening, they decided to escape the city for a romantic dinner at a remote restaurant. This restaurant was located in the heart of nature, right by the lake, and they planned to celebrate their dinner with a view of the lake. After finishing their meals, they wanted to explore the mysteries of the forest in the moonlight. The restaurant owner had recommended nature walk routes around the forest. However, as the night grew later, after wandering by the lake, they found the entrance to the forest. Emily and David began to walk into the silent forest. The stars illuminated the sky, and the tall shadows of the trees made the dark forest even more mysterious. The only light that guided their path was the moon's glow, and the silence of the night surrounded them. As they walked through the trees, the chirping of birds added to the forest's mystery. Every step they took, the rustling of leaves on the ground echoed in the silence of the night. They took a deep breath and held each other tightly, gathering their courage. Finally, a peculiar glimmer caught their attention. In the distance, they found a trail of stones laid on the fallen leaves. Next to these stones, an ancient moss-covered lamp was gleaming. David picked up the lamp and started to dig curiously. Suddenly, the lamp filled with smoke, and a whispering voice, like that of a spirit, emerged from the mist. The voice spoke in an ancient language, and they couldn't understand what it was saying. "You have discovered the mysteries of the forest," said the voice. "Now, the mysteries will discover you." After these words, strange figures appeared in the darkness of the forest. These figures were dancing among the trees. To the rhythm of eerie music, the wild figures moved frantically, making strange sounds. Emily and David were terrified by the sight. However, instead of capturing them, the figures seemed to include them in a kind of wild dance ritual. As the rhythm of the dance intensified, the figures swirled wildly and vanished into the depths of the forest. Emily and David were left in stunned amazement. After a while, Emily and David looked at each other, feeling a growing unease in the silence that surrounded them. They were lost in the dark forest, and there was no turning back. The night made them feel trapped in a mysterious world, and the silence that enveloped them was like nothing they had ever felt before. As Emily and David searched for a way out in the forest, they realized that the forest's secrets and mysteries were about to exert an even stronger hold on them. Harriet, Mark, and Sarah were childhood friends who came together every summer to explore the old streets of their town. One warm summer night, they decided to visit an old, abandoned church on the outskirts of the town. The church had been deserted for years and was shrouded in mysterious legends. As the evening advanced, the three friends approached the church's entrance. Just like the other town residents, they had heard stories about the paranormal events that took place inside the church. They boldly stepped inside, guiding their way with the beams of their flashlights. Inside the church, silence prevailed. The dusty floors, peeling plaster, and broken windows spoke volumes about how abandoned the place had become. The silence inside added to their intrigue. Suddenly, a cool breeze started to blow, and rustling noises were heard inside the church. Sarah's hand trembled, and Mark saw strange figures forming on the walls. Harriet heard a faint whisper in the air. They cautiously approached the altar in the middle of the church, where they found an ancient book covered in dust. Its pages were old and yellowed. When they opened it, they saw pages filled with strange symbols. Suddenly, the book came to life, with its pages turning as if moved by the wind. The meaning of the symbols on the book's pages captivated the three friends. They felt as though they could unravel the secrets of the past. The wind picked up, and the book's pages turned faster. Abruptly, the book began to levitate, its pages flipping through the air. More whispers, more rustling, and more enigmatic figures emerged. Yet, nothing made them feel in danger. It seemed as if there was a purpose to all this. As the wind's intensity increased, the figures started dancing inside the church. Their wild dance followed an eerie ritualistic rhythm. Emily and David were taken aback by the spectacle. However, instead of approaching them menacingly, the figures seemed to include them in their bizarre dance. As the dance's tempo quickened, the figures twirled wildly and disappeared into the depths of the church. After a while, the peculiar experience inside the church came to an end. The figures gradually faded away, the wind ceased, and the silence returned. The three friends, while trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed, realized that the mystery of the church had touched them, yet none of them had suffered any harm. When they stepped outside, the night sky was adorned with stars, and the town's silence enveloped them. This strange and mysterious experience had brought them closer. The mystery of the church still awaited unraveling, but on that night, none of them had been kidnapped, injured, or killed. They preserved the night as a memory to cherish.